Good morning. It's just after 8:30. It is Sunday. I'm Ron, so you know what that must mean. That means it's Sunday morning live with Ron. Ta-da, 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 ta-da. So welcome. It is in fact Sunday morning live with Ron, and I'm Ron from ronalcottphotography.com. And we come here every 2 weeks. We were supposed to be in Yosemite today, which is a little bit of a disappointment, but something else came up. So I'm still in Concord. I'm still in my office. But we'll talk about why that is, and because it's actually kind of a good thing. So we'll talk about that. But what we do here in general, when we're not talking about why we're not in Yosemite yet, is I'm going to show you first the images that are welcome Facebook. Show you the latest images that I've added to my gallery. And that gallery, again, is ronalcottphotography.com. And I'll show you those. Then we're going to do a lesson on how to make your photography better. We're going to start a new module. All right, so this week we are starting a module on taking sharp pictures. How to make your pictures very, very sharp. Because that's the one thing that we can't fix in post-processing. If it's not a sharp picture, we cannot make it sharp. Okay, we can make it a little bit sharper, but we cannot make it sharp if you just flat missed it. Okay, so we're going to talk about the first piece of how to do that. Okay, and today it's actually going to be about lenses. Okay, so and then after we do that, I'm going to show you the lenses that I have for my A6000, the ones that I use, and I'm going to show you a little bit about the lens options that I have going forward, because lenses make a big difference in how your photography turns out. Okay, so welcome. As I said, we do this every 2 weeks. We are live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So welcome all of you on all of those platforms. Whether you're live or you're watching a replay, just welcome. And here we go. Got to do that. Got to watch the Instagram too to see if anybody comments in Instagram. If you join me, please drop a comment. Say hi, Ron. I love to talk to people while I'm doing this. So, the first thing I want to show you, the reason that I'm not in Yosemite today. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get this light right. The reason I'm not in Yosemite today is that I applied for and was accepted for an art show at a local gallery here in Concord. And that meant I had to scramble and actually frame one of my pieces. But it's all set. I have to drop it off this morning, which is why I'm not in Yosemite. The show actually starts next week. If you're in the Concord, California area, it's the Art Cottage in Concord. And the show runs from November 3rd until sometime in December. This piece will be there, and it will be up for sale. You may recognize it. It appears in a lot of places. This is Rockaway Rocks 1. Okay. This is artist proof 3 of 5. Framed, matted, signed, and ready to go. So I'll be taking that over this morning, as I said. They'll be hanging it over this week. And I believe the opening gala. Hi, Lamore. Welcome. Lamore joined us on Instagram for a little bit. I'll be taking this off today. It'll be hung this week. And I believe the opening reception is going to be next Sunday, November 3rd. The actual opening of the show, I believe, is the opening reception. If you're in the Bay Area, I would love to see you there. There will be lots of artists there. I'll be the guy with the long gray hair and the funny beard. See, long gray hair, funny beard. So, I promised you pictures. Let's show you the pictures. Here they come. That goes here. All right. Things got moved around a bit. Let me get him centered and useful again. There we go. Okay. So, this first one is called All Ashore. As in all ashore, it's going ashore. This was taken in Bandon Beach, Oregon. And, well, I was up there at the beginning of September. This was my last sunset there. And it had been very nice for about 3 days. But my last day there, is when the wildfires actually started in Oregon. So it had been clear. It was the first clear air I had had in about a month because California was and is burning. But Oregon was clear until that very last day. So I ended up with some sunset pictures that looked kind of spooky and eerie. But it's kind of interesting too. And I like that I got this little seagull down in here, okay? And the waves splashing. This is just one of the, I've since learned they're called sea stacks, that sits there on Bandon Beach, between Coquille Point and Face Rock Point. And this one was more on the beach, and I could actually walk up to it. So I did, and I got a nice picture. All Ashore is what this one is called again. So, All Ashore, Bandon Beach, Bandon, Oregon. Hi there, Tab P. Moore. Don't know what else to call you. This one is called I Give You Red. And it's not actually in my new images gallery. The rest of these are all going to be in my new images gallery. This one will just be in nature. Because it's not really a new piece. It's one of my old pieces that I never featured before. So every 2 weeks, I'm going to pull one of those out and feature it. I pulled this one out because it's fall. Here in Northern California, we don't have the maple trees that I grew up with in New England, so we don't have red. And so I was very happy. I was near the DeYoung Museum in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. And just outside the DeYoung Museum, there's a beautiful, beautiful old grape arbor. And several of the grape leaves had turned red. So I got this nice close-up. And this one is called I Give You Red. This one is called Two Branches Diverged in a Wood. It's a piece of fallen wood that I saw in the Carquinez Straits Regional Seashore. I think that's the name of the park. But we were hiking. We actually had lost the path and did not know it. And this was just an interesting old fallen piece of wood with some lichen on it that I shot. The name obviously comes from a reference to the Robert Frost poem, Two Paths Diverged in Wood. So this is called Two Branches Diverged in a Wood. Okay, which is kind of redundant since branches are wood, but that's what I called it, and I'm sticking to it. This one is called Stand Tall. Interestingly enough, if you're a fan of Sunday Morning Live, you may recognize it. It's actually taken in my backyard. I was doing some demonstrations with my A6000 on focal length, I think was the one. Depth of field, I forget. But anyway, I was shooting up at this palm tree that is not in my yard, it's in a neighbor's yard. Okay. And the clouds were just really interesting, and the palm tree was blowing in the breeze, and it came out to be a fairly nice shot. So I like this one. And the day I feature this one, I also know that there is a group on Instagram called Hug a Palm Tree that I will be able to post this on. So this is a palm tree from my backyard. It's called Stand Tall. Okay, we're looking up at probably a 60-degree angle there. It's really tall. The next one is On the Hunt. This one I did as my featured image earlier this week. This is a snowy egret. He was captured at the Yolo Bypass wildlife area, which is between Davis and Sacramento, California. It's an area where they are restoring the wetlands of the Sacramento River, slowly but surely. So it's a protected wildlife refuge. And I went there on the summer solstice. And I got there late in the afternoon and also took sunset pictures. But I got this really nice picture. He was fishing down in a ditch, which is just below where he's standing now. And I got some pictures of him down in there. And then he decided he was going to move, so he stepped up out of the ditch and into that setting sunlight, which is why it's so strong, coming from almost sideways on him. And that's just a beautiful shot. I'm so happy that I was able to capture that. I keep talking about the fact that I'm not catching birds in flight, but I'm doing better at birds that are standing still. So that one was pretty good. This one is called Wood, Water, Land. Okay. Over here, this is a fallen log. This is actually driftwood. Okay. More like a drift tree because it's quite huge. But it's been there for a while and it's rotting away. Okay. And it sits behind these kind of interesting rocks and a little mini cove. Okay, so that's the land, and obviously this is the water. Now, I still have not figured out, and I'm going to have to break down and go to nautical charts, I think. I'm not sure what this is called, whether this is San Francisco Bay, or this is considered part of the Delta. It is still tidal, not title, but tidal. And it does sit east of the Carquinez Straits. So I'm thinking the Carquinez Straits, being a geological feature, may be where Hi Pam, good to see you. I'm doing well. I'm really excited. I'm taking my picture to the art show today. Art show starts in a week, but I'm taking that picture. And I'll show the picture again. I've got it all framed. It's nice. But this one is wood, water, land. All right. Carquinez Straits Regional Seashore. The next one is Left Behind. This is taken from a different part, very close by there, probably 3 miles away. But here I was actually right down, actually that other one I was down on the water. This was actually taken the same day. I lied. That other one was the same one. This is the Pickleweed Trail. I love the name of. Pickleweed is actually a marsh plant that chokes out waterways here in California. But this was a little palm tree, and this is actually where the dates or whatever, this particular type of palm, the one that I know that does this is date palms. And the little fruits grow on all these little eyes here. And when they fall off, they leave these branchy, squiggly things. Okay? So that one is called Left Behind. Again, off the Pickleweed Trail. This next one is also from that same day, that same hike. This one's called Turn, Turn, Turn. There's this, we left the water and we're looping back. This building behind here is actually a maintenance shed for the park district. But out behind the shed, towards the water, there's this big old valve. But there's nothing there for it to control. Obviously, it goes down into the ground and something deep underneath there needs controlling. But I have no idea what it is. But it was just very, very interesting. This big, long, rusty, threaded bolt up here with a monster nut. It was probably 2 inches across. Okay? And then the place where you would put the crank to do whatever this valve does. I hope somebody knows, because obviously it's important. But I have no idea what it is. But it's just an interesting picture with the rust against the brick chimney. Again, just a little bit further down the trail on that same hike, this is called This'll Pass Too, as in T-O-O, not T-W-O. Just some real pretty thistle flowers. I like that I got what I'm learning is not called bouquet, but bokeh. The softness behind it and in the front, and just these couple of flowers in focus. The yellow is really nice. It was a beautiful day. So Thistle Pass Too. And it's also kind of a commentary on our current times. It will pass. Life is change. And then this last one is called Sunrise Rock. And here we're back to Bandon Beach in Oregon. This was my first morning there. I went down to Coquille Point And just offshore from Keel Point is this huge sea stack, which I have since learned, is called Elephant Rock, okay, which I can sort of see. Okay, if you look, you got the two big ears, and there's actually an eye there. Okay, I can't zoom in. Can I? Yeah, let's see. Can I zoom in and get the eye? Plus, plus, plus. No, I can't. Okay, and then kind of his trunk going down with the sea cave coming through, with the water actually pours through both sides of that trunk. So it's an interesting place, and with the sun rising behind me, watching that line of sunrise climb down the rock, it was just fascinating. And this was before that smoke that I was talking about earlier rolled in. Welcome whoever else joined on Facebook. Glad to see you. Do say hi. But this, again, is Sunrise Rock. Okay, so just to run through them very quickly. Okay, this is all ashore from Bandon Beach, Oregon. Yeah, I know, Pam. I'm trying to figure out what other animal you see. This one is called I Give You Red, from near Arboretum, or Arbor, near the Young Museum. This is two branches diverged in a wood from up on top of Carquinez Straits. This is Stand Tall, shot in my backyard here in Concord. On the Hunt, shot at the Yolo Bypass Wildlife Area. Wood, Water, Land. This is down by the seashore, or the water shore anyway, on Pickleweed Trail. Left Behind, remnants of a palm, also on the Pickleweed Trail. Turn, 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 also on the Pickleweed Trail. This Thistle Pass 2, also from the Pickleweed Trail. I get on these kicks. I try not to put all of them from the same place. And this one is called Sunrise Rock. So, yeah, sometime, Pam, I'll have to get on a Zoom with you and you'll have to show me what you see, because I don't see another animal. Is he lying on his back around this side? Like over here? Maybe like Snoopy lying on his back? That would work. Got a little Snoopy nose, okay? And his big Snoopy belly. That's what I love about nature. You can just look at all kinds of things and just make stuff up, because, you know, it's your eyes. You can see whatever you want to see. All right. So, we've done the first thing that I promised. We've looked at all those new pictures. I mentioned to Pam, so let me show Pam, because she joined after we started. This is the picture that I'm taking to the show. Okay, it's an art show at a local gallery. It's their Christmas bazaar, so the entry threshold wasn't very high. I sent in an application. They said, "Oh, great, bring it down." So this is going to the gallery today. It will hang, and then the gala opening is next Sunday afternoon, I believe. But I'll be posting on that on Facebook and Instagram, so be on the lookout for it. I want to thank my friend for helping me get this framed yesterday, because this is actually one of my pictures before I knew about standard frame sizes. So we had a fun time at Michael's trying to find a stock frame that would fit. I've tried very hard to eliminate all of that glare, but there's still glare on that picture. Can't be helped. It's just there. So that's what it is. It's called Rockaway Rocks 1. Okay, it's artist proof 3 of 5. And it is, there's the name, and it's signed down in here. That right corner being so dark, you kind of have to get right up to it to see the signature. But it's there. Welcome whoever else joined on Facebook. Say hi. We're glad to see you. And if you're watching the replay, we're glad to see you too, even though you're seeing me and I can't see you. But, you know, that's the way it works. Time is relative. Okay? And obviously, you're not here now. You must be spending time with your relatives. So, I'm glad that you're watching the replay. In a couple of announcements, in 2 weeks, okay, which will be November 8th, I believe, will be the next issue of this show. Okay, next edition of this show, Sunday Morning Live with Ron. And there'll be another batch of pictures and another different lesson on photography and another demonstration of what we mean by that. So that'll be all new 2 weeks from today. But in between now and then, on November 1st, which is a Sunday. This is the first time that a month change this year has fallen on a Sunday for me. I will be going live at 5:30 Sunday afternoon. Again, all my times are Pacific time. Do the math. So 5:30 Sunday afternoon is when I'll be doing the drawing for my October drawing. Okay? And of course, October is... Try to get it there. Okay? Is Are We There Yet? This very print here, signed, delivered anywhere in the continental U.S. It includes the postage. Okay. Want to remind everybody that the calendars are available on the website right now. Be looking for flash sales. Be looking for fourth quarter sales. It's the fourth quarter, you know. This is when everybody buys things. This is when everything goes on sale. So keep looking. Yes, Pam. I will send you a message with that address right after. It's also on the website. Okay, if you go to ronalcottphotography.com and look in the footer of every single page, my address is on there. It's required for legal notices, so you can send that. You got your picture this week, right, Pam? Pam was a winner at one of my drawings, at one of my live art shows. I think it was. Yeah, live art show. She won the drawing at live art show and got a print of Green Wall. So congratulations on that. I'm glad you got it safe and sound. I'm glad you like it. So then let's jump into, I promised you 3 things, right? We're going to show you the pictures, which I showed you. I'm going to give you a lesson, which I'm going to do next. And I'm going to show you what that means on my Sony a6000. Now, today's lesson is all about lenses, and it's part of the start of a new module on taking sharp photographs. So how important is it to actually get your pictures sharp when you take them? Because you can do all this post-processing. We did like 5, 8, 7, 60 episodes on post-processing. And the things that you can do with post-processing are pretty amazing. But the one thing that you cannot do in post-processing is make a picture that isn't sharp be sharp. Okay? So this is the one thing that you have to get right in the field. And we talked about this when I started way back in April. The first couple that I did talked about the basics of getting a sharp picture, of holding your camera steady, of using your arms against your body, bracing your camera. And I'll demonstrate that later with my camera. Or using a tripod. So, getting your picture sharp, but now we know more, okay? We've taught you about exposure. We've taught you about aperture and depth of field. We've talked to you about a lot of things, okay? So there's more to getting a sharp picture than just holding the camera steady. Okay? So that's what we're going to cover in the next few episodes. Just as an aside, I was pretty impressed with myself to discover that this episode of Sunday Morning Live with Rod is actually episode 20. Okay. Ooh, you could cook me a country breakfast too, Pam. Bye-bye. Good to see you. You be good to yourself too. And so we're going to learn today about sharp pictures, and today's lesson is specifically about lenses. But let me introduce you to what I'm going to be using as my outline. Not really my source material, it's more of just an outline. But this one is from F-Stoppers, okay? fstoppers.com, which is a blog, and they have articles and tutorials and all kinds of things, okay? How important is sharp pictures? If you go to fstoppers.com and search for sharp photographs, you will find at least 7 articles and 3 blog posts that talk about different aspects of getting sharp photographs. So there's a lot to remember, but most of it boils down to 2 things. Okay? There are 2 reasons why your photo may not be sharp. One, you may have focus blur, okay, where you don't have the right focusing. Okay? And 2, you may have motion blur, where the camera moved while you were taking the picture, or the subject moved while you were taking the picture. And you address each of those differently. Okay? They list, F-Stoppers, here Adam, lists several other factors. And I'll run you down through the outline, okay, which you really can't read, but you ought to be able to read the headings there, okay? So the first one he talks about is the optics, okay, the lens. Okay? People love to talk about lenses in photography. First off, they're encouraged to do that by camera and lens manufacturers because that's where they make their money. They don't sell film anymore. So once they sell it to you, the way they get more money from you is you have to buy lenses and accessories. But optics are very, very important. If you don't have a sharp lens, if you don't have sharp optics, okay, you're not going to get a sharp picture. Okay, what are the things to look for when you're looking at optics. The first thing is you get what you pay for. There are very, very, very few true deals, okay, in lenses. In lenses, pretty much you get what you pay for. Okay, there are a couple of brands of third-party lenses that are not made by the camera manufacturers, and I'll talk about those later, that try to be a little bit cheaper than the corresponding lens from the manufacturer, but they still ain't cheap. Okay, so there are cheap lenses and there are good lenses, but there are no cheap good lenses. Okay. What else to look out for? Okay. Your available aperture, okay, and then high-tech coatings. Okay. So there are a lot, they put extra finishes to make the lens sharper, and those, of course, cost more. The best finishes there are made by a company called Zeiss, Z-E-I-S-S. So if you see Zeiss, you can expect to spend a lot of money. Okay. I love this line here, which you probably cannot see. Okay. It's generally considered better to have a constant aperture. Okay. And the lower the number, the more light it lets in. Okay. And the harder that is to do. Okay, so you'll see when we show you in the demonstration part how this fixed aperture can make a difference. Okay, some common fixed apertures: 1.42 or 2.8. Okay, but you will see on the lenses that I actually own specifically fall in this category to avoid the 3.5 to 5.6. Okay. Zoom lenses tend to have a range of apertures. As you zoom in, it makes the aperture smaller because they can use cheaper glass, because by shutting down the aperture, they can remove a lot of the distortion around the edges of the glass. That's where distortion comes in mostly when you're working with lenses. So, and then they talk about that Zeiss T-Star coating, which is just considered, the platinum standard. Okay. And then they talk about some specific lenses that are Nikons and Canons. I don't use a Nikon or a Canon. Okay. But Sigma, which is one of those companies that is working to try to make things a little bit different. Okay. Sigma does make lenses for my camera. Okay. And they make the art and contemporary series. Okay. A lot of people put filters on their cameras, and I am guilty of that as well. Mostly to protect the lens itself from getting dirty and scratched. But if you want really sharp pictures, you have to get really good filters. And my filters are extremely cheap and came with the camera kit. They were sort of a toss-in. Okay, here the Adam talks about going somewhere, and he was worried about getting dirt and dust, so he stopped into a camera store and bought 3 what he calls cheap filters at $30 a piece. Well, I got 3 filters, and I don't think I spent that they added $20 to the cost of my thing for all 3. So they're cheap. So I'm going to start trying to take pictures with the filters off. I still will use them on, leave them on for transport. And when I'm in windy conditions, which blows a lot of dust onto the lens. But I'm going to also try it with it off and see what that makes difference. Okay. There are good filters. Okay. There are neutral density filters. Okay. They recommend using a step-up ring. My lenses, two lenses, have different size openings. Okay. So if you're going to buy good, expensive filters, you should buy a filter that will fit on the biggest lens that you have, and then use adapter rings to use those filters on your other smaller opening lenses. Okay. The super telephotos, it talks about when you're shooting across 3 miles, okay, you can get distortion actually from the atmosphere. So it may not be a lens problem. Okay, you may be seeing heat waves coming up off the lake or coming up off the land that are distorting your pictures. Okay, and these super telephotos are also much heavier, so you have to work more on stability. Okay, they're harder to keep stable. Some of the other things that we'll be covering in future episodes. Focus. Okay, we talked about focus, blur. Okay, the depth and how that affects depth of field. Okay, your aperture, which of course affects depth of field, and the aperture on your lens. Your lens has a sweet spot in terms of the aperture opening. Okay, in terms of hiding the lens flaws and hiding the diffraction. Okay, and he talks about a lot of stuff. Okay, ISO. If you shoot at very high speed ISOs, over 1600, and in some cases 1600, even, will give you grain. Okay, it's not blur, but you have noise. Okay, so you always want to keep your ISO as low as possible. Shutter speed has to do with motion blur. Okay, and we'll cover that. Flash, I'll study up and cover it. Okay, right now the only flash I have is my on-camera flash. I don't have an external flash, so too bad for me. But he talks about flash. And then we'll go over some specifics about the resolution, using anti-aliasing features, using in-camera sharpening, okay, and then printing, okay, the actual output. Are you going to printing? Are you going to a screen? How you're editing and what you can do to affect the sharpness in editing. And then if you are still shooting on film, there are concerns about that. I probably won't do a module on that. All right? And then he has a really nice checklist at the bottom of this. So I'll put the link to this specific article in my notes on all of my platforms. So welcome whoever joined on Facebook. So I'll put the link so that you can get this checklist and read up on it yourself, and then you won't need me anymore. And I'll be here alone and sad, all by my lonesome. But today, we're talking about lenses, and I kind of covered a lot of what he said about lenses up here when I was first scrolling through it. Okay, so what do you need to know about your optics? Okay, first, you get what you pay for. Okay, and you'll see when I go into the demonstration part, I didn't pay a lot for my lenses. So everything that he says to look out for in a lens, I have on my lenses. Okay, the things that can affect that money a lot are having constant aperture as opposed to a variable aperture, and having high-tech coatings. Okay. He makes some recommendations on Nikons and Canons. I shoot Sony, so I can't use either one of those. Um, but I can use the Sigma Art Contemporary and Sport lenses. They make those in my Sony mount. All right, and we'll see some of those. Filters. Don't use cheap filters if you want to get. Don't use cheap filters on a good lens, I guess is the moral of that story. Okay? But if you're going to spend a lot of money on filters, you should get the ones that fit your biggest lens. Okay? And then use adapters, what are called step-up rings. Okay? To use those same filters on other lenses. And then if you're fortunate enough to have a super telephoto, okay, remember that the sweet spot when you're zoomed in is different. When you're zoomed in that far, even though you're seeing something fairly tight, there's a lot of air, okay? And air moves, and air has heat convections and breezes and all kinds of things going through it. So you may have difficulty with distortion coming into your picture, even if you have a super sharp lens. I mean, there's just air. The optics between you and the thing you're shooting, when it's that far away, can actually be affected. Okay? So those are the important things on lenses. Okay. So that's two. Two of the three things that I promised. I showed you the pictures, and we're going to show those one more time at the end of the show, in case you missed it. Or you can go back and watch the replay. Okay. I showed you the picture that I'm taking to be in an art show. Okay. This is Rockaway Rocks 1. And then we just did a lesson on sharp pictures, and specifically on how optics can affect sharp pictures. Okay. So that's two of the three things that I promised. All right. So, got a third one to do. I've got 12 minutes to do it in. I can manage that. All right. So, but before we do that, usual announcements. In 2 weeks, November 8th, I will be doing this show again, and we'll do the next module, which is really important, which is focus. Okay? If you don't have the focus that you need to have, you will not get the sharpness that you want to get out of your picture. Okay? It's one of the two major sources of distortion in pictures. Focus blur, movement blur. Okay. So that's what we'll be covering in 2 weeks on November 8th. November 1st, which happens to be another Sunday, but it's the first day of the month. On the first day of the month, I do my drawing. Okay. And my drawing this month, is for Are We There Yet? All right. So if you're not entered, if you're not on my email list, then you could miss out. But you still have like a week. Week from today is actually when that drawing will be. So you have a week to get over there, get your name entered in the drawing, and then you have a chance of winning. Because if your name isn't in the drawing, I will not know to draw your name. It's that simple. So we got that. 2 weeks we've got this. A little later in the month coming up, I will do another live art gallery show, virtual home live art gallery show. I may do something. Wait, let me actually look at these dates, because I could be telling you wrong. Yeah, November 3rd. Okay. I will find out when the gala is, I may try to do a short live on my phone from the opening of my art show, which is November 3rd, which is a Thursday. But I'm not sure if that's when the opening reception is. It may be that Saturday or Sunday. Oh, wait, no. November 3rd is a Tuesday. So I'll find out when the opening reception is. So watch the Facebook page. Watch the bulletins section on the website. And watch Instagram. I'll be announcing all of that on there. So now I'm down to 9 minutes to finish this. So all right. Lenses and optics. We talked about filters. All right. So this is one of my lenses. This is my 55 to 210. It's the Sony Kit telephoto lens. Okay. And if I can get it to read, see, now I need a tripod to do this. Okay. But as you can see, okay, it says 55 to 210. That tells me how much it zooms. Okay. That's my focal length. But you also notice, just like it talked about in the article, the things that you want to avoid. Okay. The 4.5 to 6.3 is the aperture range. So when I'm at 55 millimeters, I can get an aperture of 4.5. Okay. And you'll notice that's not one of the ones that he listed as a good thing to have. They only went up to 2.8. Okay. So you can't use this lens very effectively in low light because of that f4.5. And on telephoto, it's an f6.3, so that's even worse. All right. So this, I've taken some nice pictures with this. I'll take some more nice pictures with this. This afternoon, I'm going to Yosemite. Okay. And I will take some sunset pictures, and some of them will be using this lens, and some of them will come out really, really nice. If I had a better lens, could they come out nicer? Yes, indeed they could. Okay? This is the dilemma of photography. This is why there are so many men who get into photography, because they like the gear and they like to brag about how much they spent on their gear. But I will tell you, as much as a good lens will make your picture a little bit sharper, the most important part of any picture is the person on the side of what happens on the side of the camera without the lens. It is you. Okay? You're the one that's going to pick the composition. You're the one who's going to decide what the story is. You're the one that's going to decide where the focus should be. And then you just need to technically have the skills to execute that. Okay? So I promise you, a $4,000 camera body and a $4,000 camera lens will not save a bad photographer. Okay? So if all you've got is your phone, shoot with your phone, for God's sakes. Okay? When you see it and it inspires you, take the picture. Okay? The best camera is always the one that you have with you. Okay? So don't forget that. Lenses, okay? As I said, I shoot with the Sony a6000. Welcome, whoever joined me on Facebook. Do say hello. Okay? So I am at, I've cropped them off somewhere here. Okay, I am at B&H, which is a well-known online camera shop. Okay, used by professionals. I mean, it's kind of the default go-to place. All right. So I have gone to just one store. I have filtered on just lenses that will click into my camera. Now, some of them are made for my smaller APS-C aperture, okay? And some of them are actually made full frame, but they will work on my camera, okay? So these are all lenses that will work on my camera, okay? So you would think it shouldn't be that hard to choose. Well, let me show you. Look, right there, there's 3 from one manufacturer, okay, that are the featured lenses. But let's start looking. Prices ranging from $198, there's $1,000, there's $1,400, there's $2,600. I think that's the most expensive one in this listing, okay? And it just keeps, nope, there's one for $3,000, okay? What makes the difference? It's like, oh, and wait, it goes on. If I jump to page 8 and scroll down, there's a page 11. Okay? And this is just filtered on things that will fit on my camera. Okay? So, what makes the difference in all of those different prices? How do you know? Okay? So what I'm going to do to demonstrate that is I'm going to go here and we're going to have, oh, bye-bye Instagram. Going to have look at a specific focal length, and it's on the next page. Oh, no, I'm going to have to make this wider for a second to get to the arrows. There. Okay. Oh, I'm not even showing you this stuff. I'm babbling about all this stuff. I'm not showing it to you. Okay. Here this is. Okay. So, as I said, there's over 11 pages. There's 12 pages of lenses just to fit my one type of camera. Okay? And every single manufacturer has a list like that. Okay? But what we're going to do right now is we're going to take, nope, something got clicked over here that shouldn't have gotten clicked. All right. So, focal length and series. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Okay, we're going to use a fixed focal length. Now, you see they come in fixed or zoom. So that's the first thing. Zoom, by definition, is more complicated. Okay, because it's got more moving parts, which means it needs more pieces of glass that can adjust to those movements and everything. But to stay basic, we're going to go with a fixed focal length. Okay, and we're going to use the 35 millimeter. Okay, you'll hear people talk about nifty 50. All right, what happened there? See all. 35 millimeter. Now, because the Sony a6000 is a crop sensor, we've talked about that before. Well, that's not working right at all. The equivalent lens to a full frame. You'll hear this talked about as a crop factor. On my camera is 1.5. So if you take 35 millimeters and multiply by 1.5, you actually get 32. You get 52 rather. And there is a thought around what they call the nifty 50, okay? That a 50 millimeter lens is a great lens as a general purpose, particularly shooting portraits, okay? So that's where you'll hear about the nifty 50. So that's why I'm going to pick this 25 millimeter or this 35 millimeter lens. Now, why can I not do this? Oh, I need to go back to page 1. It no longer has 11 pages. All right. So let me... Anyway. Bestsellers. Let's go to list. Maybe if I do that. No. Gallery. Nope. All right, let me go change pages, go back. No. All right. See all. Take this off. Okay, cancel. Refresh my screen. I'm sorry. As usual, we're going over. I think my internet is slowing down on me. Be that as it may. All right. So here we are. We've got them all. Sony E-mount. Go to page 1. Okay. All the way down to page 1. So that we're not at the end of the list. And then go down here and fixed focal lengths and go to our 35 millimeter. Bear with me. Apply. There we go. Now, you'll see there's like 66 of these things, okay? And they come in all different shapes, sizes, and prices, okay? So we got a $73 lens, okay? And we've got, what's the priciest? There's 1600 probably is the priciest, okay? What's the difference between a $73 lens and a $1,600 lens if it's the same fixed focal length? It doesn't zoom, it doesn't do anything, all right? Well, the first difference is who makes it, okay? Okay, you see Sigma and Sony, they'll come in pretty close. And then you see some other names like Samyang, okay? And Seven Artisans, and I've actually heard some good reviews on some Seven Artisans lenses. But Seven Artisans lenses don't have two features. Okay? They don't have autofocus. They are manual focus lenses. And they don't have image stabilization, and we'll talk about that when we talk about motion. Okay? We have lens babies, okay? And then we also have lenses actually from Zeiss, okay? Zeiss is like the king of glass, okay? They're like the Rolls Royce of lenses, okay? We got Mikey, okay? What's a Mikey? I have no idea, okay? That's not something you hear people talk about when they recommend lenses, okay? But it is cheap. All right, so if you don't have any lens, you know, somebody gives you an A6000, you don't have any lens, you got 80 bucks, yeah, go buy an 80-buck lens and start taking pictures. But, okay, so what's the next factor? Now these are all fixed, so none of them are zoom, but the next factor is going to be what series. Well, the next factor is going to be this f number. Okay? f1.4, f1.8, fixed f-stops, which you're always going to have. Okay? You can see here's a Sigma 35 millimeter f1.2. Okay? DG, HSM, Artlet, okay? It's essentially the same series, okay? But the 1.2 versus 1.4 is twice as much. Okay? The 1.8s, okay, versus the 2.8s, okay? Let's find one that's a okay, there's the 2.8. Okay. Now this has the Zeiss coating, which is why this is an expensive lens. Okay. This is Zeiss, which is why this is an expensive lens. Okay. What I'm looking for, I don't see. Okay. Here we go. Now here is, and here this makes a difference on the build quality of the lens. Okay, Sony makes lenses in different qualities. So here's a 1.8 with image stabilization, autofocus, $473. Okay, up here is a 1.8. Okay, for $748. Okay, well. This is an FE, so it's for full frame. This is for the crop sensor. Okay? Cropped lenses are cheaper because they're smaller. They can be smaller. Okay? As I said, I can use this lens. Okay? And one of these two lenses will be the next lens I buy, I believe. Okay? So all of there's so much that goes in. So if you're looking at buying another lens, you get what you pay for, but don't pay more than you're ready for. Okay? Don't spend $1,500 on a lens, $1,600 on a lens, just because it's the best. Okay? If you're not a professional photographer, there's no reason that you need a $1,600 lens. I am a professional photographer. I don't need a $1,600 lens. My skill set would not benefit. My pictures will not be better for having that $1,600 lens as opposed to one of these $750 lenses. Okay? And that's just the facts. All right? So, when you start out, you're going to have lenses that aren't as good. Okay? That's fine. You can take great pictures with them. Hang on, I've got to find my... Let me get back here. There. I've got to find my pictures. And find myself. Okay? So, by all the measures, this is not a great lens. Okay? It does have the steady shot, but it's got not a particularly big aperture. It only starts at f4.5. Okay? It is variable aperture. Okay? But it's a nice zoom. It's 55, 210 millimeters. I can zoom in on things pretty well. I like it. So, take pictures. The whole moral of the story is take pictures, but better optics will give you better pictures. If you are looking at lenses and trying to compare things, YouTube is your savior, okay? Because there is most likely 5 videos on YouTube, at least, that specifically do head-to-head comparisons of the two lenses that you're deciding between. So go to YouTube when you're looking for lenses, and you will see actual examples of pictures taken with the two lenses side by side so that you can see which one you think under which conditions work better for you. All right, so that's our show. We've done our three things, 1, 2, 3. Okay. We're going to head out. I'm just going to show you the images one last time, and then we're going to shut down the show. So before I do that, remember in 2 weeks we're doing this again. In 1 week is our drawing for our October giveaway. In the meantime, you be good to yourself, be kind to other people, and become the person that you would like to meet. Peace out.